Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at this, a multi-tester review of the new On Cloudmonster. It's the newest entry into the high stack, maximalist, max cushioned race, and a bunch of us have been putting in some monster miles in this kind of monster shoe to find out how it stacks up. Let's start with the vitals then. Well, the On Cloudmonster weighs 230 grams or 8.1 ounces in the women's. That's 275 grams or 9.7 ounces in the men's. It has a 6mm drop and it will set you back £150 in the UK. It's available worldwide from 31st of March this year. Now, On describes the Cloudmonster as a maximalist shoe with massive cushioning and big rebound, and it claims that this is the perfect shoe for energising easy everyday running, or just adding fun to those kind of long Sunday runs. The headline here though is that massive midsole that features On's biggest cloud tech elements ever, that's still made from Helion super foam. The size, the placement and the structure of those Hughes cloud pods are designed to work with the P-back speedboard plate inside and the pronounced rocker geometry that this shoe has to deliver super soft landings and maximum rebound. Now up top you've got a pretty tight knit dense mesh that's pretty well structured. There are a few overlays there to give you quite a good amount of support. In terms of the heel cushioning, there's a good amount of padding and cushioning around the heel. The tongue is quite flat, sort of wraps the top of the foot, which helps you when you come to kind of lace down. And you've got this kind of eyelet lacing sort of structure here that again is supposed to help you get a good lockdown fit to hold this shoe in place.
So fit-wise, they are super comfy. They have a really kind of nice lightweight upper, lightweight tongue that I think we've come to expect from On, and the laces do stay put, but I would say they come up a little shorter in the foot than other On shoes and other brands on the market. I'm a UK 5. I did have a thumb width, but it was tight. So I would say if you're kind of between sizes, I would definitely go up half a size or a size in these. They come up a little short.
Fit for me then, I ran in a UK 8.5, which is my size, and I found that absolutely bang on, spot on in terms of width, length, foothold and everything, so I would recommend that you go true to size in this shoe.
So the Cloudmonster fit me true to size, as a nice comfortable fit, really good upper, yeah, no problems at all with the fit in my normal size.
So the pair of Cloudmonsters that I tried were actually half a size bigger than my normal size, so I've been running in an 8.5 and my normal size is an 8. The size, understandably, was slightly large. They fit fairly well for me. They didn't seem too big, but I definitely would have gone down half a size given the option.
So fit for me and the Cloudmonster was solid overall. I had a UK size 8. I had no issues in terms of how these fit. They weren't uncomfortable at all. I think you had a good enough space around up in the toe box. No pressing or horrible pressing on the sides of the foot. I think you kind of get a generous amount of padding, which kind of makes up for kind of a thin tongue, but ultimately the fit for me, no major issues, and I really kind of enjoyed wearing it, running in it, and also just generally walking around in it too.
If you've ever been put off On, like I have, because they feel a bit hard and a bit flat, these will definitely surprise you. They're a lot more responsive. They didn't feel heavy on the underfoot despite the kind of thick, wedge. I run in the Nike Invincibles a lot. I run in Hoka a lot. So compared to both of those brands, they definitely felt a lot more lightweight. I've worn them for my long runs. They do pick up the pace a bit when you need them, but I probably wouldn't opt for them for kind of quicker, responsive speed stuff. But yeah, they have a good amount of responsiveness. They're comfy. I did find I overpronate slightly, and they did tend to I did roll in a little bit at the end of the run when I was feeling tired, but I did really enjoy running in these shoes and they're super comfortable on the run.
So I've put in around 50 miles in the On Cloudmonster. Most of those were kind of slow, very easy, low heart rate, low intensity, kind of easy kind of miles on a mixture of terrains, some roads, some kind of compact river paths and park paths, that kind of thing. Now I've enjoyed this shoe, and I think the first thing I'll say is it's noticeably softer than many, many other On shoes. I think that's very deliberate from On. They've taken a bit of heat recently for being too firmer than some of the other kind of shoes that we've seen come out with the kind of super foams and the more kind of modern foams that have that more sort of soft and respond kind of foam underfoot. While the On Cloudmonster is definitely potentially a kind of answer to that kind of criticism. And I think it kind of holds up pretty well actually. Definitely a heavier shoe, though I don't feel like it runs much heavier than some of the other kind of maximalist shoes that I've worn Adidas, Adidas Star. These things kind of feel similar on the foot. Overall, I think there's got kind of nice sort of disappearing upper comfort. You've got some plush heel cushioning, the nice kind of thin tongue. One thing that a lot of shoes do, they'll go for plush cushioning and then a fat padded tongue too. On have swapped that. You've got a nice flat tongue, wraps the foot, holds it nicely, lets you lock down the laces nicely. But you've got this kind of nice ample cushioning, which makes for a really sort of plush, comfy ride. And when you're doing long miles in a shoe like this, that's kind of what you want. And overall, I think in the toe box, it's kind of plenty roomy too. Now, I think one thing to say, this isn't a kind of super lively, super responsive, squish and respond kind of propulsion, high stack cushion shoe. It doesn't really fulfill that. It is softer and there is some response there. But I guess in one sense, it's not really a super exciting shoe that you might find like some of the new kind of foam shoes come out and try to be. But personally, I'm not really sure when we all kind of started demanding shoes that had to be, really exciting, really kind of poppy and really kind of, over exaggerating that kind of push in each step. I think it's a much more kind of subtle kind of cushioning. I think actually it's a pretty well balanced shoe for when you're looking for those kind of easy miles. The rocker geometry I think rolls really nicely. I have clipped along, I've worn an 8 kilo pack a lot with these shoes, so I've put on a bit of extra weight to see how they kind of bear up. And actually, it's been good. I haven't felt too much coming back up into the sort of legs and the knees. And I just think, for an easy sort of easy run shoe, I think this does a very solid job. I'm a big fan of the sort of disappearing comfort of the upper when you first put them on. They vanish. They feel like a shoe you want to go and run in. I think they're a very easy shoe to choose for really easy miles. And I actually think it's a very solid option for those kind of long, slow, low intensity, very easy, longer miles.
So given the outlandish name and the massive stack design, I kind of expected something fairly dramatically different from On's other shoes with the Monster. And it isn't really what you get here. It's still very recognisably an On shoe on the foot for me. But yeah, it certainly has taken the edge off that kind of firm ride that you get with most On shoes. It's a little bit softer and it does offer quite a nice level of softness and protection, but it doesn't go overboard on that front. It's not super squishy like some other Max cushion shoes, so it's still a little bit more stable than them. And yeah, it offers a nice kind of new option in this Max stack category, I'd say. I've done a kind of mix of easy runs and kind of progression runs in the shoe, and in the latter I'd kind of worked from easy towards a steady pace, and I didn't really think the shoe had much going for it at any pace above easy. Like, it is quite light, I will say that, and I think it's got a reasonably kind of nice efficient ride with the speed board in there, but didn't enjoy it moving past easy pace, so I kind of would say it's one that's really best kept for those kind of base runs, just plodding around, kind of enjoying your surroundings. I think it does a good job of those, but it's not particularly versatile, would be the kind of what I'd taken away from it. Yes, like there's not a huge amount of spring in this foam. This is still kind of On's foams. They're not very springy or bouncy, but I did find actually on my easy runs where I just tend to run to heart rate, I'm in the forest or something like that, my pace was always kind of a little bit higher than I expected when I kind of looked back at it after each lap or at the end of a run. So yeah, there's obviously something going on there. You're getting a bit of propulsion from the speed board or something like that. So I think it is a good shoe for ticking off those base miles. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's the most versatile. I wouldn't be using it for speed work myself.
I've been using the Cloudmonsters for mainly general base training. It's a heavily cushioned shoe that's really designed for that sort of running. It's not a shoe that's designed to be versatile or faster training. So I've been doing mainly around 5k to about 15k runs in this shoe. I've got up to 50k in it so far. What I found is that even though it's a cushioned shoe, a heavily cushioned shoe, I mean that's the focus of this shoe. It's meant to have a lot of cushioning in it. It doesn't really feel like a lot of the really heavily cushioned shoes that I normally wear. I'm a big fan of cushioned shoes. My favourite shoe at the moment is the New Balance More V3, and that has a lot of cushioning on it. But I think the thing about that shoe is that it feels like a cushioned shoe. It feels very soft to run in. It feels like it's really deadening the impact all the time, and there's not a lot of firmness in that shoe. It's a very soft shoe. But with the Cloudmonster, it's got a similar level of cushioning in it, but that cushioning feels, to me, a lot firmer than what I'd normally expect from a shoe with this much cushioning in. So as a result, when I've been doing my runs in this shoe, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't deliver like I want it to deliver from a cushioned shoe. That may just be me, but I think for most people that are looking for a really heavily cushioned shoe, they want it to have a level of softness to it that's really deadening that impact and making that run feel nicer on the legs. For some people, they may want a cushioned shoe that's a little bit firmer, and then the Cloudmonster would probably be a good option for those. But for me, what I found from this shoe is that it feels fine on all of those runs that I've done. I don't have a problem with it at all. It just doesn't feel like the cushioning is really cushioned. if you get what I'm saying there. And because of that, I didn't see it really delivering the run that I wanted to get from it. I don't think it's a bad shoe. That's not a negative. It's just not something that I expected from something that has this much cushioning in. And if you're looking at it as a really heavily cushioned soft shoe, it isn't. Over those base miles, it felt very comfortable. I didn't have any issues with it at all. It definitely wasn't a problem to run in. And it was more than comfortable enough for the runs that I was doing. At the end of those runs, my legs felt fine. It was definitely doing the job. It was sort of deadening the impact from those runs. It felt very comfortable. It just didn't feel like a noticeable cushioning that I like to get from shoes, where I really want to feel a soft feel to that midsole. But as I say, that might not be for everyone. That firmness in the midsole for me does make it slightly more versatile than something like the New Balance More V3. That shoe just does not deliver when you're trying to run fast. It's not designed for that. It's just designed for base miles and just feeling comfortable. I think there's a little bit more versatility in this shoe. I think you can go a little bit faster if you want because of that slightly more, that firmer midsole that it's got, but not massively. You're not going to be running races in this shoe and going for PBs at a fast pace. Just for reference, my base pace is around 4:40 to 5 minute kilometers, and I would normally run my tempo efforts at around 4:20 to 4 minute kilometers. So this shoe doesn't deliver at those faster paces, but at the base paces it feels fine, and I think that's really where it's focused. And a little bit more on the comfort in terms of the upper. I think it's a thoroughly comfortable, enjoyable shoe. I wouldn't say there's a nice level of step-in comfort in this shoe that I get with some of my other shoes. There's not loads of padding around the upper, especially around the ankle collar. There's a bit, there's not loads. So I definitely don't feel like when you step into the shoe, it just feels really comfortable straight away. But having said that, it doesn't feel bad either. When I run in this shoe, I don't really have any negative points to say. I just don't really see it excelling in any area when it comes to cushioning and comfort.
In terms of running performance, I've done just under 50k in these shoes now, and that's come from a variety of different runs. So I've kind of focused on doing those kind of easy, relaxed, longer runs and shorter runs, which I think this is where this shoe is pitched. I did try to do some quicker stuff in it as well, just to see how it kind of handles if you want to pick up the pace. Generally, what I found is, yes, the cushioning technology here is a little bit softer than some of the other On shoes. There is still firmness, and I definitely kind of noticed that a little bit on my kind of longer runs, where I did get a little bit of kind of knee niggles, or kind of a little bit of pain in my knees when I went a little bit longer in this shoe. The shorter runs were generally fine. I think going a little bit kind of moderate paces, or up into kind of moderate paces, the cushioning technology worked pretty well. The midsole held up. There was a little bit of bounce there. It did feel kind of enjoyable to run in, a little bit quicker. But in terms of a shoe that is designed for kind of those slower, easier pace runs, to take that kind of pressure off your legs and not leave your legs feeling tired, they were okay. But as I said, on that kind of longer run, I did have a couple of issues in terms of my knees, and whether that's down to the shoes, I don't know, but it is something that I kind of noticed on most of my longer runs in this shoe. So yeah, in terms of an easy kind of recovery shoe, okay, didn't blow me away. I was definitely a little bit hesitant to run a little bit longer in these shoes beyond kind of 10, 15k based on my testing.
Is it too much to say these are my favourite On shoes yet? I've said it, I'm going to say it. I absolutely love them. I've not been an On fan, and I've always found them a bit hard. I'm quite a stompy runner, and I've always just found them a bit too flat for my liking, but I really have loved running in these shoes, and I will continue doing a lot of running in these shoes. I've probably done about 30 miles in them now, and I love them. A big fan.
So my verdict on the On Cloudmonster is, as a shoe that's kind of really designed for kind of easy runs, recovery runs, it did do a pretty good job on that front. Those are the types of runs that I felt they kind of suited best. Would it replace a shoe that I use for those types of runs right now? I don't think it would. The On's cushioning technology is not something that I'm a huge fan of generally. It's not the kind of cushioning that I would favour in terms of those types of runs. I do think they held up well on that front. It's still a little bit firm for me, though it is definitely softer than some of the On shoes that I've run in recently. So if you are a fan of On shoes, you are looking for kind of an easy kind of running shoe, one for kind of those slower, longer miles, and you kind of that cushioning technology works for you, then it will have appeal. For me personally, it's not a shoe that's going to quite make it into my rotation, unfortunately. So from my point of view, verdict, a good shoe. I don't think an amazing shoe. For the price, you know, it's an On shoe. It's expensive. That's what you kind of get with an On shoe these days. The Cloudmonster is a good On shoe. I just don't think it's an amazing running shoe in terms of the types of runs that it's designed for.
So my verdict on the On Cloudmonster, I think it's a solid shoe. I think it's comfortable. I think it does the job that it's trying to do, which is those base pace miles. But I also don't think it excels in any area. When you're comparing this shoe to some of the other cushion options out there, and I'm talking max cushioned options like the New Balance More V3, maybe something like the Asics Nova Blast, I don't feel the same thing from this shoe that I'm getting from those shoes. Those shoes feel very soft. They feel very comfortable. The Nova Blast feels bouncy as well, so it's got that added bonus to it. The Cloudmonster, it's definitely cushioned. It definitely is designed for ticking off a lot of miles. But also, I just don't think it really delivers anything over and above a sort of all right cushioned shoe for me. I definitely don't feel the shoe when I'm running in it. I don't notice that cushioning in it. It doesn't feel like it's bouncy. It doesn't feel like it's soft. It doesn't feel like it's offering me anything that I sort of look for when it comes to cushioned shoes. But on the other side of that, it's a solid cushioned shoe. It does what it says on the tin, and it's not a bad shoe for that. I think it's more than enough if you want a shoe that's going to just tick off the miles, whether that's lots of high mileage efforts or if you're doing longer runs in your training. So if that's what you're looking for, that's good. And maybe if you want something a little bit firmer as well. But if you really want cushioning and if you really want a soft midsole, I just don't think this midsole does that. It's still a little bit too firm for me.
So my verdict then, well, I think On has had a kind of gap in its lineup of shoes. And this is one of them, which is basically something that feels nice and kind of soft underfoot. You can go and run long miles where you're just going nice and easy, doing sort of casual, easy runs, the low intensity, low heart rate, all of those kind of things. And I think this kind of fits the bill. Yes, it's not the most sort of squishy and responsive shoe you're going to find, but it is very comfortable on the uppers, nice and plush. I think it's a really sort of steady, easy ride. I found it very easy to want to put these on. And yeah, though it's not necessarily the most remarkable shoe you're ever going to kind of encounter, particularly with some of the other things that are coming onto the market, I do think that in this sort of setup where you're looking at high stack shoes, it's a pretty kind of reasonable effort by On. I would definitely make it it could fit into my rotation fairly easily for those sort of longer, slow sort of Sunday runs, which is kind of what it's targeted for.
Overall, I enjoyed doing my kind of easy miles in the On Cloudmonster, but it didn't leave a huge impression on me, which is a little bit surprising given the name and the kind of big stack design of it. It's not especially versatile, but it is a really solid, cushioned, protective option that's, like I said, a bit more stable than some of the other options out there and not really geared around a huge rocker if you don't like that kind of ride on a shoe. So it's fairly traditional, protective, but still max cushioned shoe. So, within this field, I would say that there are kind of, more versatile or exciting options out there. You've got the kind of big squish and bounce of the Nike Invincible, which is, a really, really fun shoe to run in, I will say that. And then for all-out comfort, there's something like the Brooks Glycerin, which doesn't have a huge towering stack, but has, really padded up a nice, plush feeling underfoot. And it's a really good shoe for kind of logging miles in extreme comfort. And then I kind of do like a rockering or a rolling ride myself. So shoes like the kind of Nike Infinity Run or the Adidas Adistyle, which do have a nice rocker, create a very smooth ride, which I do really appreciate on easy runs. Actually, I find it just helps me roll through them very comfortably. And this has got a little bit of a kind of a smooth transition, but it is more a kind of that traditional ride that without that kind of rolling sensation that you get from those shoes. I also think there are more versatile max stack shoes out there. Like this is, like I said, it's quite light, but there's the Skechers Max Road 5 is even lighter, and I think a better kind of quicker option if you want a max cushion shoe that you can also use for some more daily training, kind of tempo runs, that kind of thing. This is something that I really would keep just for easy runs. I also would say, as a last thing, I think this is kind of a nice niche as a good looking shoe that also is a pretty nice shoe to run in on easy runs. I think this kind of thing gets derided a lot of runners, and I don't like it. Like I think having a shoe that you can wear out and about that then also do your easy runs in very comfortably is a nice kind of different kind of versatility given how expensive shoes are. So if your running shoes are shoes that you can only use for running, that kind of does limit how much you're going to wear them necessarily, whereas a shoe you can walk around in and then do your easy runs in very comfortably is a nice thing to have. It's a bit like what I used to get from the Adidas Ultra Boost. I don't really like the look and ride of the kind of newer Ultra Boost, so this is another option in that kind of category.
So there you have it. That's been our multi-tester review of the On Cloudmonster. Got any questions, comments, hit us up below. We're always happy to answer questions on this shoe. If you get one and running it, we'd love to hear how you find it. what your experiences is of this shoe. Don't forget to check out all the other shoe reviews. If you're looking for a high stack shoe, no doubt there's a bunch of reviews on the channel that will fulfill that, help you find the right one for you. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon on the Run Testers.